Om Shri Ganeshahai Namo Namah. Greetings to everyone world over, all our brothers and sisters across the globe. It's a green morning, green afternoon, and green evening because we all are in different time zones, different conditions. And at the same time, we are taking our journey ahead. During the pandemic, right from 25th of March 2020, we get into the total rolling of making health, wellness, and education going because the first bird to be hit, and that's the most fragile, that was tourism. Along with that, hospitality, and of course, when you make the total triangle, you have the aviation sector as well. So aviation, tourism, and hospitality, very fragile, the first bird to be hit and the last to recover. Of course, we have come out of the pandemic. Situation is much better. People are feeling much happier. But at the same time, there are still concerns world over: where to travel, when to travel, how many people to travel, where all we can take a trip, and where all should we go. Should we go to the congested places? Should we go in a big group, or should we go to nearby places where basically you're talking about domestic tourism, going to 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers, 100 kilometers from your nearby hometown, and you just go with your family to secluded places, green places, serene places, nature-based ecotourism, all that we're talking about. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, the entire universe is based on cultural heritage of the world, where you have got dance, music, art, handicraft, costumes, fairs, festivals, monuments, museum, cuisine, and of course, human interaction. And that's what is tourism. Through the lens of Feast, that's a forum of educators and skill providers of tourism, today we are going to have 1660th webinar. That's on 16th of September. And we extend a very warm welcome on Friday morning, Friday afternoon, and Friday evening, depending on your time zone, wherever you are. Today is also World Ozone Day. We all realize the importance. How do we have to control the global warming? How do we have to take care of the climate change? International Chamber for Service Industry, ICSI, operational since 1994, and then in 2003 we started with, in our country, that is Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. ICSI is an interface between non-resident Indian corporate sector and the government, and from time to time we keep working out on policies, roadmaps, and strategy papers, think tanks, and others, depending on what is the need. But we are totally into service industry, because economy has got three parts: agriculture, manufacturing, and services. We are totally with the services sector. From 10th of September to 27th of September, 17 days, we have got this particular program, Dekho Apna Desh. And whenever we talk about Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, we say Atithi Devo Bhava, and that's tourism. So 10th of September, we started this journey, and we will go till 27th of September. Our chamber is deeply indebted to Shri B.K. Goswami, former Secretary Tourism, Government of India, who being a chairperson of the chamber, and he's the person who brought the vision way back in 2001. Why not we should bring all the educators and scholars of the tourism. Basically, at present in our country, we have got 1,027 institutions, whether they are having certificate course or diploma programs or degree programs or research programs, all related to tourism. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Forum of Educators and Skill Providers for Tourism. On 10th of September, we had Indian tourism post-pandemic. On 11th of September, we had the repackaging education and skills post-pandemic. That's every Sunday, 8 p.m. I just wish to share with all of you, we invite non-resident Indians, Indian diaspora, and we had the Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, who is the Professor of Marketing from the Lamar University, Texas, USA. On 12th of September, we invited Pandurang B. Thavadaji, who is the President of Agriculture Tourism Development Corporation of India. It's something very, very scintillating when he talked about agri-tourism, farm tourism, rural tourism, and we took the focus of northeast part of India, where Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Assam, Meghalaya, Sikkim, all 8 beautiful sisters and 8 states, and something green, serene in Northeast. Thereafter, on 13th of September, we had gone to film tourism, film-induced tourism, cinematic tourism, Bollywood, and Tollywood we brought all together. 14th was Hindi Divas, so we had मातृभाषा एवं पर्यटन कि पर्यटकों के आने के लिए जो भारत में आते हैं किस तरह के टूरिस्ट गाइड होने चाहिए जो एक अच्छी भाषा में एक अच्छे तरीके से उन लोगों के साथ अपने विचार को प्रदर्शित कर उन्हें बता सके कि किस तरीके का टूरिज्म का पोटेंशियल है भारत में और खासकर जब हम कल्चरल हेरिटेज की बातचीत करते हैं. Yesterday we had a wonderful deliberation with Captain Swadesh Kumar and Rakesh Mathurji on ecotourism, sustainable tourism, responsible tourism, green tourism, wildlife tourism, adventure tourism, and please leave nothing but your footprints was the message which we have given to everybody. Today, of course, we are talking to cultural heritage. Tomorrow, you'll be having spiritual and pilgrimage tourism, our yoga, our meditation, our naturopathy, our Ayurveda, why people should come to India, that we would be covering tomorrow. That's on 17th of September. And ladies and gentlemen, on 27th September, our chamber is coming out with the ebook that's Rethinking Tourism Post-Pandemic. Research had been going on for the last 2 years. We have done the complete compilation. And I'm reminded of the Napoleon Hill 1937. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together for tourism. Let's make education and skills relevant for tourism, hospitality, aviation, and entire service industry. India has got beautiful World Heritage sites, and that all depicts its culture and traditions and heritage. Now, cultural tourism, it accounts almost 40% of all tourism worldwide. That is by the United Nations WTO report on tourism and cultural synergies. This evening, this morning, this afternoon, whatever time zone you are in, we are having our culture and heritage tourism deliberations and celebrations with Shri Ranjan Lahariji, Assistant Director General Tourism, who left the Ministry of Tourism on retirement. Government of India had a long stint, and we are in touch with each other since 1988. I know him very fondly. We spent a lot of time together when I was on deputation to the Government of India from Indian Army. And it was such a pleasure to meet all these brothers and all these fellow colleagues with whom we spent a lot of valuable time together. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending a very warm welcome this morning in Canada, in United States, in Latin America, and this afternoon in entire Europe, and this evening in beautiful Bharat, Southeast Asia, South Asia, Central Asia, and Middle East, Mr. Ranjan Lahiri. He is going to deliberate with us. It's a pleasure to have him with us. And we are going to talk about the cultural heritage. What exactly is the cultural heritage? How India has got enormous treasure of this. And from your long experience, you have been in India also, you have been posted abroad also, you have spent a lot of time in tourism industry. Let's share some of your vision and what all you have seen the treasure through the historical pages of tourism. Let's have some footprints of yours, Mr. Ranjan Lahiri, cultural heritage part of tourism.
Thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma. It's actually a pleasure talking to you, and it's a pleasure, having been together and working together in an environment that was completely different at that time. Yet we enjoyed each other's company. We actually also shared a lot of knowledge, belief that things should move forward. And that is what we tried to do. Despite a lot of things, we moved forward. And that is what we are seeing today. Dr. Gulshan Sharma has done wonders. I mean, so many things that he's doing, many of us cannot even fathom. So it's a wonderful thing to be here. And let me just start with a small thing. We are talking about culture and heritage. When we talk about culture and heritage, we actually, make points like we have monuments, we have forts, we have palaces. I think I rethought this today and I said that, look, the culture and heritage, the big thing is that it's us, it's the people. That's what culture and heritage means. Without people, you cannot have culture and heritage. Let me start with something like cuisine. Indian cuisine is not Indian cuisine in a way. It is cuisine of different regions. In nowhere in any part of the world will you have such variety of food available. You'll go to some places which is absolutely dry. They will have food attuned to the dry and arid climate. You will go to places in the mountains where they will have food which is absolutely perfectly attuned to the climatic region of that place in the Himalayan region or even the higher reaches anywhere in India. Then we broadly talk about rice eating, wheat eating, but that is different. That is the broad way. Now, just look at the thing. In Punjab, people prefer to eat bread, leavened bread. It is from the wheat, not rice. But in Kashmir Valley, the Kashmiris prefer rice. Like people in the eastern region or Bihar, they're rice eating. Southern also, there's rice eating. So this is the thing. So I'm going to tell you some of the experiences about what we did in the overseas market. When I joined an overseas posting in Toronto, Canada, there was already a book made by one of my predecessors. It was a book on Indian cuisine. So it was a very good one, which had a lot of menus, both vegetarian and non-vegetarian. So browsing through it, I mean, we used to get a reprint and put it in our shows, whether it was a trade show or a consumer show. Suddenly, we had an idea. The idea was, let us broaden that thing. So it was only in English. Now we know that in Canada, it is bilingual. It is English and French. So we thought that let us do a French version also of this cuisine and let us do something. So we added chapters. The first of all that we wanted to show is the knowledge of herbs that our ancestors had. So each herb that we took with a photograph and an explanation of how it is used and its medicinal properties. So we put that. Once people understood the basic, the thing is that people should understand the basic thing, how Indian cuisine starts with the herbs, with the spice, what are these spices how are they coming forward, when were these coming into origin, that kind of a thing. Then the mixture. Now we call it the garam masala, hot spice, but actually that is not the proper way of saying it. It is different spices grounded together so that they are made into a paste or even a powder form that you can apply into your food. Now, the garam masala is different from different region. A Goan garam masala is different from a Bengali garam masala, and a Punjabi garam masala is different from other masala. That was also very put into that book, into that booklet. And then we had the what you call the recipes as it is. I must tell you that we brought out the French version and we went to Quebec and Montreal and the consumer shows and everything. We also brought the normal things like what we had the normal India booklet, brochure and everything, and we laid it out on the table because that's how we do it, because people then who are interested, they come to the stall and they just pick up the book. The most interesting thing is that the people picked up the cuisine book first, not anything else. Yeah, that was the very enriching and very learning experience. And I thought, look, this is a marketing thing that we have resolved. And they suddenly asked, tell me where I can get the spice in Quebec City or Montreal. I said, look, I live in Toronto. I can tell you the shops in Toronto, but I'm afraid you will have to check and find out where in Montreal or in Quebec you have these shops. But I'm quite sure that you will get it. That is not a big problem. And such a huge interest that the first brochure to go was the cuisine brochure. So I'm just telling you, this is one of the aspects that we touched, cuisine. The things that I came to understand later, that we are unable to present India in its diversity. That's what our culture and heritage is. It is just not monuments, temples, cave temples, made out of rocks and all that. It's the living thing. So what I am trying to tell you, that in most countries, there's either a single language or it's bilingual. Very rarely you'll find any country which is trilingual. But here in this country, first of all, we have two lingua francas. I use that word specifically. We have Hindi and we have English. English from 1837 and Hindi we have now converted into an official language. So that is the medium of communication in most parts. So if anybody does not understand Hindi, we can speak in English or vice versa. So that is. But apart from that, we try to tell people overseas that we have 22 constitutionally recognized languages. And that is totally overwhelming for them. I said, that is not the only feature of India. According to the Linguistic Survey of India, we have 780 living languages and 66 living scripts. And that is mind-boggling for the people in the Western world. And I told them that according to the Linguistic Survey of India, the language was a little bit more. We had 1,060 languages in 1960. It is now reduced. And 122 languages which are spoken by people who number less than 10,000. So you can imagine that India is actually has kept its culture intact despite bitter colonialism, a bitter experience that we have had for the last 200 years. Yet the inner strength of the Indian people have been to keep their culture and heritage. And that is the greatest thing. We are still having this into our minds, into our bodies, into our soul. And that is what is actually where people try to, scorn is secularism. This is what is secularism is, the diversity, the plurality of our society. And you won't find it anywhere. Even our eastern neighbor, I'm not going to mention that, but the eastern neighbor confines itself to have a single language and a single dialect. But in our country, I think we are proud to have many dialects, many languages, many cuisines, many dresses, many handicrafts. In 2002, with United Nations Development Program, the ministry, which had become a ministry from the department, it came up with a thing that to develop rural tourism. So by the time in 3-4 years, they identified 185 villages around India, which had uniqueness, unique painting, unique handicraft, unique, any kind of thing that had to do with the village itself. So I don't want to mention each and everything. It's very difficult because each state had its own remarkable, unique culture. In some of the villages were the unique natural beauty also that was included. Anyway, but what I'm trying to emphasize is that none of these villages were same. Each had their unique attributes to everything. So this is what we call culture and heritage. Another thing that we also try to do, and we should try to do, is to show India in colors. The multifaceted colors of India is something which is outstanding. I'm going to tell you about a very good interaction when I was posted in New York by the world. I met this gentleman who came to our office in New York. His name is Steve McCurry, a world famous photographer. I think many people know about him because they have seen the photograph of the Afghan girl who was in 1980, and then later on how she looked after 25 years. Anyway, he came to me and he said, look, I have been to India, and the thing is about India is that it is full of color, it is full of different smells and everything. So I would like to bring at least in one go every time 24 budding photographers from the US, bring them to India and and they can take the photographs and showcase it. It becomes their own property. So I said, very well, please do it. But when he met me, it was almost the end of my tenure. So I do not know what happened after that. But I felt very good that a person like Steve McCurry, who had such a developed mind and such an open mind and liberal kind of thing for India and such a fascination for India, wanted to promote India on its own by bringing 24 photographers from different parts of the United States and teach them photography plus what the nuances there in India is. So these are the small things that we have done. I also tried in my small way to encourage the states. For example, we did the International Tourism Mart in Tripura and Manipur. Now we know that in both in Tripura and Manipur, even in Tripura, which is largely, there is a large segment of the Bengali population, there is also a tribal population. So when they opened up and we had to call the foreign media, there were foreign tour operators. I told those boys and girls who were doing that, and they said, what is this? I said, this is our cuisine, tribal cuisine. I said, okay. So what you do, you promote that. Tell these, whenever the foreigners come, you talk about these cuisine. And if you can, make a small booklet or a small pamphlet on different on the cuisines that you have in Tripura, the tribal cuisine, which is very different, and showcase it. Be proud of your heritage. Maybe I will not be able to imbibe myself all of the dishes, but the foreigners would like to taste, would like to have an adventure. And this is the best way of promoting a destination. That's what I was trying to teach this thing. I did the same thing in Manipur. And I hope in the Northeast they do that, because in the Northeast, it is the least promoted. It has to be promoted much more. There should be a roadshow not within India. Even within India, there is need to be a roadshow because Indians do not understand. Just people have a facial feature which is prevalent in the southeast region of Asia or in the east. They don't look alike actually.
Such a beautiful place and such a
Yes,
beautiful
it's
people.
such a beautiful and such a nice people. Such a nice people. I had such a nice interaction because I was open to their. I said, I know, on the surface your culture, but even in Nagaland, I had such a nice thing. I was used to have a good banter with the lady who was looking after me, and said, okay, you had your cultural heritage from very ancient. What kind of tribals are you? What is your heritage? And so that was the thing, and nobody minded. The way you see, you have to show respect. A good tourist is an educated tourist and also a respectful tourist. That is what is required in a culture and a heritage tourism.
Absolutely.
You cannot come into another country, visit another country, and look down upon another country. An officer in our institution, he remarked, which I felt was not incorrect also, that people come to see the downside of another country. There was something like slum tourism that I heard somewhere. This is not the way, this is not tourism at all.
Yes.
What you need to see is the vibrancy. Now, many people have seen the positivity. There are a lot of tourists who come. There's a lot of things that I'm reading today. They say, no, India is not unclean. There are places in the city that could be, but most of the time it's clean. It is absolutely order free. People are friendly. You have to be careful yourself. You have to keep your things carefully yourself. And India is a very safe destination. I wanted to also share this with the viewers here, and thank you for the view, all the viewers who have come and listening to us. I conducted a survey in Canada, in Toronto, and we made about 20 questions. There were 20 questions about how do you feel about India as a tourist destination. So we had this 20, and when we advertised, we put this: come and visit India and win a prize. So what we did, we used the Commonwealth Games as an excuse. And Canada, you know, as is a part of the Commonwealth, they were also part of the. They came for the Commonwealth Games also, and there was a lot of interest about India regarding how India is going to conduct or conducting the Commonwealth Games. So I used that from I was supposed to have started from 2nd of October because that was our Fathers of the Nation's birthday. But because of the French translation getting delayed, I started from 9th of October and ended in 29th of December of 2000. Sorry, 99. And in these 89 days that I had, in the website that we had created for this, we got 27,732 hits. 7,500 wrote,
Wow.
answered the question, and only about 6,400 were eligible for the thing because they had put their what you call the personal details.
Okay.
So 1,500 approximately came from French because we had done it in French also, and the remaining 5,000 from the English side. And there was this notable thing. The what I would call it the English side, I will not call it the Anglo-Saxon side because there were a lot of Scots and Irish also in Canada. They were mostly into adventure, sports. That was the difference. The French were more into yoga, spiritual, that kind of thing. And believe me, this was the first time we had conducted a kind of a survey. I do not think any national tourism organization, which is from any country overseas, had used an advertisement, which we were doing anyway, to conduct a survey of how they felt about the destination. But the three things that came out of the India is that they wanted that India should be secure, should be safe, and should be properly sanitized. These were the three main concerns. Otherwise, their people had these were which is natural concern. I would also have that same concern. Any Indian going even in Zurich, even in Bonn, or even in well, let's say Washington, would have the same concern that there are no bed bugs in the bed and everything, and the toilet should be clean and all that. So these were normal concerns, and these were legitimate concerns. What actually told us that India did have a positive view. So there was a positive view. The survey actually give you a good advantage of how to promote India in Canada. In fact, I was a little, I had to disappoint a lot of people because I learned that though I had advertised in the Canadian newspapers, this had traveled even across the border to the US. I used to get calls from the US. Could I also join
Participate.
into the survey? I said, I'm so sorry. This is the office in Toronto, and we have made this, the demarcation, the jurisdiction is Canada. In fact, somebody from England also had joined in and put in their remarks about India. Can you imagine? And the most important thing is that we reached out to the most remote places in Canada which I never thought we would ever reach. Yukon. Yukon is absolutely in the northern part. So that was the thing. And even Newfoundland, which is absolutely on the Atlantic coast. So there are a lot of places that we were able to cover. So it showed us that India is looked at it at a very positive manner as far as culture and heritage is concerned. And India is unique because most of the countries worldwide, let me tell you that according to the United Nations statistics, the 32% of the world population are Christians. 23 are adhere to Islam, and Hindus constitute about 15.5%. So you are now targeting at 55% if you look at it. But most of our offices are targeted at in the Christian dominating country. So if they are interested into India, which is, I call it the India is the only non-Abrahamic country, because Abrahamic religion means Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Yes, India is the only country which has all the religions. It is also Zoroastrianism. It had Judaism also, and I think there are some Jews still left. They haven't gone to Israel. And we have something which many countries may have, maybe isolated countries like Australia, or maybe let us say Native Americans, or maybe what you call the Lapps and this thing, which is called animism, worship of nature. We have that also. Arunachal Pradesh is one of the examples of that.
Doni Polo.
That's right. That's right.
Doni Polo, sun, moon.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. You have been there, so you know.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I missed out on Arunachal. But when I participated in the World Congress, which took place in Montreal, what I did was to create a religious brochure, a book on a small pamphlet, which showed that India had so many religions and what are these religions mean, starting from Hinduism, Islam, and every thing, Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism. So all of these were mentioned, and lastly, animism came in. Even Zoroastrianism was mentioned to show that India is a totally vibrant kind of a diverse and pluralistic society. And we had, and for icing of the cake, I had translated, and not translated, but the English version was already there. But I also had the French version of the speech given by Swami Vivekanand in 1893 in Chicago.
Wow, brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters. Right. And that's what I put in the table, and it just was very valuable for me because this is something different. This is not a trade show. It was a World Congress trade show. So that was the thing. So I'm just started to say a few things. People are most important. That how they dress, how they speak, how they eat. Now I used to emphasize. Now I'm to give you go back to my father's period. We had been invited to a person, a director. He was from Kenya, I think, and he was leaving actually Sweden. We were posted in. My father was posted in Stockholm, so there he was. He said he had called a Danish editor, a journalist, and he said that let me introduce you to this lady. I have forgotten the name. That is a long time ago, and I probably have started my university studies there. Anyway, so he said that look, I have worked with her. She does a magazine called Food.
Okay.
It is in Swedish. It is in Swedish. The food is known as Moth. That was the name of the magazine. So he introduced, and then I think after that we left and everything. And this lady came and started talking to my father. Now, when she came to our residence also. Now my father was saying, okay, we will have something. My wife will cook and everything, and she will show you and everything and all that. and we will lay the fare and we'll start eating. I said, can I, because I used to speak Swedish fluently. I still do a little. And so I told her, look, I want to add some nuances. I said, what is it? He said, look, we sit on the floor and eat, and we eat with our hands. And we maintain a high level of hygiene in our country when we eat. So I explained to her, and I think my father kept quiet, though he was a tourism expert, not me. She agreed to that. And that D-Day came, and my mother started cooking. And each level of cooking she got nervous making those, we have this, call them luchis, the puris, how to knead them, how to make them, how to fry them. That was one of the things I'm just telling you. So each stage she was interested and she took the photographs. That photographs came out in the magazine itself. So once it came out in the magazine, I used to go swimming. I used to go swimming and I used to enjoy after my university studies were over. I used to go in the evening. People started accosting me. I know you. I said, you know me? We haven't met. Then I realized that the magazine had our pictures. It was a very popular magazine. So they knew, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, yes, I've seen you in a magazine. So that's how, uh, we cultivated, and my father promoted food. Food is the basic thing that you should need to promote. That is what we don't do. Now, what people know when we talk about Indian cuisine, tandoori chicken, or maybe if we talk about anything different, dosa. But we hardly any touch anything else. What about the Gujarati cuisine, Kachi cuisine? What about Bengali cuisine? Most interesting thing is that every restaurant is called an Indian restaurant, but they're run by Bangladeshis and Pakistanis. And believe me, in Montreal and in Quebec, most interesting thing is that it's sweet. And the person who was, they were all Bangladeshis. I said, this is very sweet. This is what kind of food are you trying to cook? I said, this is what they can't. They can't take a little hotter. I said, this is not food. Then I suddenly started speaking in Bengali and they got flabbergasted. I said, look, I'm Bengali and I'm from your part of Bengal. My origin is from East Bengal. So don't tell me what food is. And you are not even touching Bengali food. And there are Bengali food which many people do not have, except if they live there in Calcutta or West Bengal, which is very bland. There is a food called shukto. I will not mention the details, but there is plantain, there is a little bit of potato, a little bit of bitter gourd, karela, and all that mixed, and it's very bland. And we eat it with rice, and we like it very much. It's a kind of a taste that we have acquired. We eat also the bitter gourd karela as it is. Now, can you imagine that we cook it with the rice, we boil it with the rice, we mash it, and then eat it? We must maybe put, if there is anything else, we put maybe a little bit of oil or something. Even that we can never, just put a salt and eat it. And nobody in Delhi or in North India, they have to cut the thing open. They take out that bitter thing and they put the spice inside and then fry it. We don't do that. We also cook Karela in that way, but we also have this boil, which we believe is very good for the skin and for the blood, it purifies. So what I'm trying to say that what we do in certain aspects is the medicinal part. We also have, the neem, the leaves of the neem, we eat that too. We fry it with brinjal, bagan, and we eat it. It's very bitter, but during the summer, it's very good. You won't have boils, you won't have pimples. It purifies. So it's very bitter. It needs an acquired taste to do that. So I concentrated on food because food is the main thing. People do say that if you want to get to know your husband, your wife, or any friend, Stomach is the best way to know and to get the love. So that is how you nurture your destination and foster your marketing overseas. Now, maybe the Japanese don't eat spice. That is very natural because that's the way they cook. But we have bland food. We can introduce the Karela and the neem to them. Let them eat it because they must have bitter food also. Over to you, doctor. Anything that
Thank
you?
you. That's lovely. That's lovely. You have given such a beautiful fragrance and the flavor. I personally feel that I have developed the appetizer, and we are into the evening dinner in India. And of course, people must be enjoying their morning breakfast in Canada, in Latin America, in America, and of course, post lunch, it's in UK and other parts of the European countries. Let's finally have your concluding remarks, because this program is going world over and we are focusing on teachers, educators, vice chancellors, directors, principals, students, research scholars, and everybody. So what would you like to tell the youth when we talk about the cultural part of it, or the culture heritage of any country, which they should be proud of, whatever they have inherited from their ancestors? And India being one of the oldest civilization, when we talk about, what message would you like to give to the youth of our country?
Thank you, doctor. Well, I will just going to. I just reminds me of something. Reminiscence my interview in the Union Public in the UPSC. That's that's where you get into a better job in the government. So I was said, what do you think about why India is should be called Incredible India? That was the first question asked, you know. So I said, look, India is called can be called Incredible India, but the simple reason is that many thousands of years ago, a person would wake up, go to the any river, even the Ganges River, take a brass this thing lota, a water vessel, take the water, pour it, see the rising sun, and pour it like this, and give the Surya the namaskar to the sun, and that's what we will do today. There's no other culture in the world that continues that several thousand years of heritage of that simple that bowing with obeisance to the sun. In fact, as somebody even told me that the water should flow from above and you should see the sun through the flowing waterfall, because the sun rays that comes to the waterfall is very, very good for the eyesight. And I do not know who discovered it, which ancestor discovered it, but whoever did it must have done a lot of research during that ancient period. So this is one of the things I learned, that this is a very good thing, that your eyesight, is improves when you look at the sun through that falling water from the vessel. That is what is part of the Surya Namaskar. I would like to add a little bit more, but I've added food. I've added the Surya Namaskar, and I've told you why it is incredible India. I've also touched upon the language. We still have the same basic language. Many of the North Indian languages have come from Prakrit, and the script is already there from the Magad period. And we have continued with a lot of tradition. For example, let's look at it this way. Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism, they live together. We haven't seen any conflict. The last thing that some of the things that I want to add is very important is IVC, the Indus Valley Civilization. The Indus Valley Civilization, we have been touting that it says that years, that number of years. It doesn't matter. We are not here to compete with the Chinese civilization. We are not here to compete with the Egyptian. We are not here to compete with the Babylonian civilization or with the hieroglyphics or the cuneiform tablets and all that. What we are trying to say that there was something unique about the IVC, the Indus Valley civilization, that is coming more and more. Well-developed cities, better than what we have today, even better than Chandigarh, I think. And well-maintained roads, radial roads, proper drainage system covered. And one thing more that we had forgotten a long time ago, and we brought it back through the Western culture, is flushed toilets. The toilets used to be flushed in the Indus Valley civilization cities. Everything, and it is a, you know what, the interesting thing about the Indus Valley civilization is that it was constructed, these cities were constructed in old arid regions. In fact, these were river beds which had dried out 45,000, 50,000 years ago, before the last ice age set in. And there they set in, and they were actually experts in arid agriculture. Well, I do not know why it just sank into oblivion, but I did ask a question from a person who had actually got his doctorate from doing a part of Indus Valley civilization. I asked him a question that the Minoan civilization was destroyed because of a volcanic eruption in around 1653 BC. Was it the same volcanic ash that created the same turbulence? Because, you know, when you get the winter monsoon, the water comes from the Mediterranean. So I asked him to give me. So I haven't got the answer yet. I hope we get the answer. Also, that what is our cultural heritage? We all know now that Homo sapiens, the species that we belong to, came from Africa. We all have come from Africa. And our genomic studies does show that we are all the same. Whether you're a Punjabi speaking, or you're Bengali speaking, or you are a Keralite, Malayali speaking, or a Tamil speaking, the genes are the same. We are just mixed khichdi into different portions. So that's why there's some difference in our features. Otherwise, we are totally the same. In fact, endogamy started 60 generations going backwards 2015 AD. So if I calculate each generation as 22 years, it comes to 460 AD. So that's how, otherwise people used to mix with each other. And the genomic study population shows that we are at least 16,000 to 28,000 year old. We are from the what you call the Neolithic people who have developed the civilization from scratch, and nobody came from outside after that. In fact, people wandered out from India. That is the main essence. So we have been actually spreading our message to other countries. That is how the other countries are still very respectful towards the Indian civilization, because they know that the cultural heritage which India has continuing and has continued in the past is still with them. If you go beyond, even in Central Asia, you'll find traces of our culture there. So that's
Wonderful.
the essence of our cultural and heritage that
Great.
we need to talk about.
Yes, thank you very much. You touched incredible India as well, and you talked about the traditional and some of the rituals and some of these sanctity which we are maintaining early in the morning, getting up and into the river, looking towards sun, and then the water which you take out from the vessel. That something is fantastic. So I think it's a time for the dinner. You started with the feast. You started with the cuisine, and where you converted from the English to the French language also. And the people in the Quebec also must have been extremely happy over there. So ladies and gentlemen, before you go for the dinner, let's convey our deep gratitudes and thanks to Mr. Ranjan Lahiri, Assistant Director General, who worked with the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, who had an excellent stint, in Canada, in New York and other places. And deeply he touched upon many places of Northeast. People, those have joined us from the Northeast, we all will join you tomorrow morning for the sunrise in Arunachal Pradesh. Because Aru and Achal, when we talk about Arunachal, so tomorrow morning, we all will look towards the sun. And Doni Polos, you should also be very happy because that tradition also we are going ahead. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, our deep gratitudes and thanks to Mr. Ranjan Lahiri. And let me share tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, and tomorrow evening, wherever you would be. Tomorrow evening, Indian Standard Time, when we talk about 8 p.m., we'll be talking about spiritual and pilgrimage part of tourism. Don't forget to join us. We all travel together. And today, 1,000 plus people, those have joined from world over on the YouTube channel. I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you very much for your wonderful posts. And thank you very much for sharing your vision and ideas. I am seeing on my YouTube ICSI India link where more than 1K, that is 1,000 plus people are right over here. Thank you, Mr. Lahiri. It's such a reunion, wonderful reunion. After 1988, we once again got together and not to be separated. किसी मेले में फिर